Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of the NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode. I hope you're all having a great day. Today we go playoff racing here at Texas for both the Xfinity Series as well as the Cup Series. But first, we've got some big breaking news on the channel here today. Ryan Blaney announced this week that he will leave Penske Racing at the end of the season in a shock late season decision. He is set to move over to McLaren next season to drive the 7 car alongside his new teammate of Eric Jones. This was all my decision, and I think it's the best long-term option for me, said Blaney. His struggles at Penske over the last few seasons haven't gone under the radar. We've been really keeping an eye on it. He's been winless for quite a while now, and Penske is currently in talks with Daniel Hemrick to potentially drive the 12 car next season, so we'll have to stay tuned for that. But a big shock there, and I remember earlier when Ryan Blaney was the last driver into the playoffs, we said that would keep his seat at Penske. If he did not make the playoffs, Penske was going to get rid of him here in the career mode, but he made it. They decided to keep him, but instead, Ryan says, you know what, I'm out. I'm going to McLaren next season here as Zane Smith. He's going from McLaren to Richard Childress Racing next season to drive the 8 car as Tyler Reddick goes from that car over to Chip Ganassi Racing in the 42. Obviously, a lot of silly season stuff going on, and I'll go over all of it in the off-season video here in just a few days' time at this point, as we're in the final 3 races now of the season, so that way you guys will get an idea of everything that's going on. And there's also a couple big announcements still on the way, just simply having to do with the Daytona 500 for next season in the career mode, so stay tuned for that as well. But we come through here into Texas Motor Speedway for the Xfinity Series with Paul Menard behind the wheel in the O'Reilly Auto Parts 300. He didn't have the greatest qualifying effort in the world, but he got down to the inside as quick as he could and started making up some ground. We come into this race comfortably above the cut line currently here to make it into the Final Four because, well, we have a win, so we don't even have to worry about making it now. So we will be locked into this Final Four at Phoenix Raceway, so Paul can just throw it all out on the line and just do anything he wants. And he was actually up into the top 5 a little bit later on in this race, was trying to make a pass on the 9 of Sam Mayer. Timmy Hill had actually taken the lead away from Christian Eckes, so Hill trying to win his way into the Final Four here. As we know, he's going to Chip Ganassi Racing next season for that 3rd entry for that team here, as we came through a little bit later out of turns 2. Now under pressure from Justin Allgaier, Paul was, and he would end up giving a spot up to Allgaier and then to Landon Castle, but then Paul would actually fight back up the inside of Landon Castle here a little bit later on as it came through out of turns 4, and we would be able to move back up into P4, and that was as far as it got from there. Now as we come through down this front straightaway on this final lap, Timmy Hill would come through to win his way into the Final Four and have a chance for a championship in the Xfinity Series as Paul Menard crosses the line to finish in the 4th position. So a great overall day for us here, when obviously the next 2 races, or next race now at Martinsville, does not matter whatsoever for us here in the Xfinity Series, as you see the rest of the finishing order on your screen. So we'll check out what that playoff grid looks like after Timmy Hill wins his way in. Timmy been one of the best drivers in the Xfinity Series all season long, so I'm not surprised to see him win his way into the Final Four whatsoever. But now the playoff grid, here it is. You see myself, or Paul Menard I should say, Timmy Hill locked in, Christian Eckes 14 above the cut line, Haley Deegan, the last driver in, is actually in a tie with Justin Allgaier, and then Gibbs and Mayer and Clements are all as well on the outside looking in. So we come through now into the Cup Series side of things here at Texas Motor Speedway with the NZXT paint scheme on the car. Next episode, as you guys know, we are actually going to Dr. Pepper next season in the career mode with this 24 car. So in the next episode, we will be running a Pepsi paint scheme for the final time at Martinsville Speedway. It's going to be actually a different Pepsi scheme than usual, and you guys will see that there. It's actually like a throwback Pepsi car now, as we came through in qualifying, though, to qualify P15 with a 29.612 here for the Texas 500 now, as we come into this race well above the cut line to advance into the Final Four. So really no real pressure, as Ryan Blaney actually is on pole. In the same episode, he announces he is leaving Penske, and he's joined on the front row by his Penske Racing teammate and 2018 Cup Series champion of Joey Logano. As we look through the rest of the order, Kevin Harvick down the order quite a bit, which is a playoff driver trying to make it into the Final Four in his final season, and Austin Dillon all the way at the bottom of the field here as we get ready to go green. Alright boys, we had a good start to the round. I don't see why we can't have a good one today. This is probably our weakest track in the round of 8, so if we just kind of escape out of here today above the cut line, I think we're going to be in great shape going into Martinsville. There you hear myself on the radio getting ready to take the green flag here. Like I said there, this is probably our worst track in the round of 8, so if we can just escape this race still above the cut line, I have absolutely no concerns going into Martinsville. But then you think back to last time at Martinsville, it definitely didn't go like we had hoped it would, but still not much pressure. As you see, Corey LaJoie had to replace the transmission before the race. He will be starting at the back of the field now as we get ready to take the green flag here for the second race of the round of 8. Right behind that number 2 car, Brad Keselowski, is a green flag flag is out, and we are underway here for the second race of this round now as we start from the 15th starting position. We got some work to do, of course, here as we go down towards turns 1, but usually it's the long run where this car at Texas Motor Speedway really comes into play for us now, as we usually struggle quite a bit on the short run. Honestly, we are lucky to be a top 10 car on a short run at Texas, but on the long run we can definitely have top 5 speed. But the question is, will we get long runs here today? That's going to be the big question that will yet to be answered as Ryan Blaney leads the way through turns 3 and out of turns 4. Joey Logano started second. He already falls down to P3 behind Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman up there in P4. One of those drivers on the outside looking in right now to make it into the final 4, and same for the driver we just passed of Chase Briscoe, and right behind us Matt DiBenedetto in that 10 car also trying to make it into that final 4, along with as well Kevin Harvick in his final season of his Cup Series career as we get up the inside of Buescher, and we're going to drive right on past that 17 now as we go down into turns 3. There will be some Roush Fenway news on the horizon here very shortly, so you guys will have to stay tuned for that. But we moved up into P9 very quick here, but then I just kind of felt like I hit a wall as I just couldn't go anywhere after this. So we came through to lap 5. Bubba Wallace had run me down from the 10th position, and he was actually going to just drive right on by me on the outside as we came through turns 3 and 4, as Kyle Busch now leading the way as he took the lead from Blaney, who was now starting to fall down that order here as we got passed by Bubba, and then the number 19 of Harrison Burton, probably our biggest rival in terms of competition this season, already locked into the final 4 after a win last episode in Kansas, drives by on my inside, and then we would actually run down this group of cars with Joey Logano as well as Chase Elliott. They were both falling off a little bit here as we were down to P11. Burton and Bubba, they were moving their way forwards here as they had a lot of speed in the first start of this first stage here as we're up the inside now of Chase Elliott on lap 11 as we go down into turns 3 and 4. So we're going to pass that 9 of our teammate of Elliott, who is still winless this season, by the way. It's not been the season he's looking for at all, which, like I've said already a few times, is very surprising because I did not mess with his driver rating from last season to this season, and he won 4 races, I think, last season, and this season he's been completely winless. Hopefully he can pick up a win here within the next couple races now, as we also are able to get past our rival of Joey Logano here as we go down this back straightaway towards turn 3. So we move up into the 9th position here as we definitely have a lot more speed than those two guys we just passed, but I wasn't sure what we had at this point for the cars up ahead, but we really wouldn't gain much now as it came through all the way to lap 18. Now the tire light had come on, and all of a sudden green flag pit stops are actually about to happen here in Texas now, as I'm just trying to get as close to these guys as I can in front of me. Another lap later on lap 19, I decided we're going to come into the pit lane this lap right here, and so was the 12 of Ryan Blaney and the 18 of Kyle Busch, so we're going to come through into the pit lane as well, and we actually gain a lot of time there on the entrance to the back of that 12 car of Blaney. So very easy call, 2 cans of fuel, 4 fresh tires. I didn't really make any adjustments on the car, but we have a very solid pit stop because Kyle Busch, he wasn't even that far ahead of me on the exit, and then Ryan Blaney, he was way far behind me on the exit of the pit lane as we're already down into turns 1. He wasn't even out of the pit lane yet, so we end up cycling through, passing the 23 of Bubba Wallace, we pass the 48 of Alex Bowman, and we nearly get past the 02 car of Eric Jones, who's going to be teammates with Ryan Blaney at McLaren next season, but I couldn't quite complete that pass there and clear him, so we end up losing that spot as we come through out of turns 4, but we gained a ton of time by pitting a lap or so earlier than a bunch of these other drivers now, as we only have a few laps to go at this point in stage 1 now, as actually you see the 02 get held up behind Austin Dillon, who's way off the pace here today, running in the last position, 3 wide. We split him there as we come through to the final couple laps in stage 1. Kyle Busch continuing to lead the way here, looking for that stage victory, but into turn 3 we had a big moment here with actually one of the JTG Doherty cars having a bit of an issue. That was the 37 of Sheldon Creed, and now that brings the 48 of Alex Bowman into the situation here as we come through to the final lap of stage 1. So Bowman actually drives by me, then I do him a favor here and back out of it, let him in. I know how important points are for Alex Bowman right now on the outside looking in coming into this race, and he's not very far out, so I decided, you know what, on this final lap I'm just going to do him a favor and try to actually push him to P3 now in stage 1 as Bubba Wallace gets into the mix, as well as we're 3 wide with the McLaren teammates of Zane Smith and Jones, who's going to go all the way to the top. I accidentally kind of get below Bowman, and he kind of checks up as we come through out of turns 4. Kyle Busch wins stage 1, coming to the line there. Bowman and myself right there side by side, but he holds on to the 4th position as as we end up getting P5. Jones gets P3 in the McLaren. Brad Keselowski second, who's also another driver trying to make it into that final four. And then Kyle Busch as well is the stage winner. So a playoff point, obviously playoff points don't matter at this point now, but there you see the order on your screen here at the end of this first and opening stage. So drivers like Kevin Harvick, Matt DiBenedetto, Chase Briscoe really struggling, and that's going to be a big issue for them, of course, now if they want to make it into this final four. As you see, Sheldon Creed has DNF'd from this race, but we would come into the pit lane again for 2 cans of fuel as well as 4 fresh tires, gaining 1 spot on the pit lane now as we will get ready to start this second stage here at Texas Motor Speedway now, as Kyle Busch and Eric Jones are on the front row as we are underway, but the 0-2 gets off to a terrible start as this will lead us into the AMP segment. There you have the AMP segment here from Texas Motor Speedway. Not the restart we were really looking for now, as we're down in the 8th position after restarting in the 4th position, as we would, though, clear that 9 of Chase Elliott on the exit of turn 2, but then we were kind of stuck behind our rival of the 22, so trying to find a way around him, as Suarez actually was able to fight to my outside now on lap 7, but then the caution actually comes out here, as Brad Keselowski had actually taken the lead, by the way, now as we're going to have to settle into P8 here for the restart now, as Ryan Preece, it appears maybe he brought out the caution now as we look through the rest of the order, still seeing drivers like Kevin Harvick, Chase Briscoe, Matt DiBenedetto all having some serious struggles here now as we're going to get ready to go green alongside Denny Hamlin. Still a surprise, of course, that Hamlin did not make it into this round of the playoffs, and if he didn't DNF at the Charlotte Roval, he very well likely would have made it. Now as the green flag is back out, and we are going to have 15 laps to go here in stage 2. So that caution actually puts it really close on the fuel situation. Obviously in stage 1 we made a green flag pit stop. This one, like I said, puts us really close. We might have to pit coming to the final lap or so. It's actually cut off the 12 of Ryan Blaney a big time right there. But we get down to the inside here as we're going to try and pass that 0-2 McLaren of Jones into turns 3. Now, as I remember seeing a comment recently, it was like, take a shot every time Gary says the word McLaren, and as I'm recording this video and commentating on it, I'm realizing I'm saying that word once again a lot now as we come through right to the back of the 22 of Logano with 14 laps to go. But as the situation has been over the past probably season and a half with Joey Logano, we've got to be really careful around him now as we come through out of turns 2. So Blaney trying to put some pressure on me here, as I'm just really hoping that the 22 will go to the top here, which, I mean, I can't pass on the top, so I know if I try to pass the 22 on the top, I'm just going to get run into the wall and lose all my progress. So we're trying to make it happen on the bottom, and the AI do like to jump up to that outside line, so I was really just waiting on him to do that now. As Alex Bowman, actually, you saw me make a mistake in turns 4, opening the door for Bowman to get to my inside now, as Bubba Wallace also follows through on the inside. So I kind of get trapped here on the outside for a few moments now as we came through on lap 14, and now Bubba would get clear of myself. Alex got past the 22, now was passing Denny Hamlin, and then Eric Jones would get to my inside as well, so we dropped down into P11, but then my opportunity to get back down to the bottom opens up, so we hop on that now as we try to actually look up the inside of him, but they would also get past the 22 of Joey Logano. So we're still running P11, and the tires and the field were starting to get close to that point of where I, like I said, didn't really know if we were going to be able to make it to the end of this stage or not, especially on field here, as it was looking like we were probably almost a whole lap short at this point now as we came through a little bit later on lap 19, following the 22 still, but all of a sudden he was picking up the pace a little bit, looking to the inside of the 0-2 of Jones and the 11 of Hamlin, making it 3 wide. So I'm just going to kind of follow through here casually and pass that 0-2, move back into the top 10, and then try to pass Hamlin for that 9th position as Kyle Busch continues to lead the way. If he wins today, that locks him into need that Final Four to keep his chances of going for that 4th championship alive at Phoenix Raceway. That would, of course, tie him with Jeff Gordon, the 4-time Cup Series champion now, as that would be really cool to see here in the career mode now. Jeff Gordon, of course, being my all-time favorite driver. Now, as I also get asked very often, who are your current favorite drivers? Some people ask me that a lot. It's Denny Hamlin and Daniel Suarez. Now, as we came through to a few laps to go in Stage 2, I actually left the door open for Ryan Blaney because I thought that these guys were going to start to come into the pit lane, and they did not. So now I was trapped on the outside as we come through out of turns 4 to approach the final lap. You see some drivers coming into the pit lane though. Daniel Suarez, Harrison Burton. So we start the final lap now in Stage 2. The fuel lights on, the tire lights on, and I realize we're probably about to run out of fuel here as we come through turns 1 and 2 now. And sure enough, as we come through out of turns 2, the car actually starts to run out of fuel as we go down this back straightaway. So now it's going to be a really weird race to the end of Stage 2 as everybody's actually running out of fuel as we come through. Kyle Busch out of turns 4 actually comes into the pit lane, and now I'm just giving it everything I got, just putting the throttle right down as far as it can go and just hope for the best. Now, as everybody comes into the pit lane, I'm staying out because I'm like, we can pick up a bunch of extra points. Priest is actually going to go by on the inside and steal the stage win from us, and we come through to cross the line to get 2nd place in the 2nd stage. So a massive shakeup right at the end there as I just got destroyed in the back there. I think that might have been the 5 of Kyle Larson or something that hit me, but I couldn't tell. But then we get hit again from behind, which I would hope that is not going to affect our Stage 3 restart. But now we're going to come into the pit lane for 2 cans of fuel as well as 4 fresh tires. There is one downside to us staying out. Everybody that was on the pit lane there can do their pit stop and stay out at the end of this little transition into Stage 3, but we have to come into the pit lane. So we're about to give up a bunch of track position, and you see it right there. We give up 17 spots and drop down to P19 right behind Ryan Preece, who won the stage and had to do the same thing that we did. But now the 3rd and final stage is underway here at Texas Motor Speedway, and we picked up some extra points that we probably shouldn't have gotten right there in Stage 2, so that's only going to help us in terms of being comfortable above that cut line going into the next episode at Martinsville Speedway. Brad Keselowski leads the way into turns 1 and out of turns 2, and if he wins his way into the Final Four today, that could be a bit of a shakeup, because then it puts myself and Kyle Busch, the last 2 drivers on the inside of the cut line. And if we go into Martinsville and say a driver like Kevin Harvick wins, then that turns it into a points race between myself and Kyle Busch to make it into the Final Four. So all of a sudden we would no longer be comfortable. So it's really going to be interesting to see if Keselowski can win this race, because we know he has had some speed, but Kyle Busch has been the fastest car here today, but he's actually a little bit further back in traffic. So that's really the big thing we are watching here today as we come through now out of turns 2, trying to get on a move as quickly as possible. Some 3 wide in front of us now as I'm trying to follow that 42 of Ross Chastain as we go down into turns 3. I do know where I'm going to put Ross Chastain in the career mode next season. He will remain in the Cup Series. I can confirm that, but I can't say where he's going yet until I kind of get another announcement out of the way. But that will also probably come in the off-season video now, as there's still a lot of driver changes on the way here that I have to announce as we go down into turns 1. So we're already up into P12, moving our way towards that top 10 as Keselowski opens up quite the gap actually to 2nd place on back, as we now make it 3 wide with the Chip Ganassi Racing duo of Chastain and Noah Gragson. Of course, Gragson, ever since he's gone to Chip Ganassi in the career mode, has been the kind of face of that team. He has surprisingly not won a race, and Chastain actually has won a race for Chip Ganassi, but has not put up anywhere near the consistency that Gragson has, as we would also pass Kevin Harvick now up to P9, but then we came through the turns 4 on lap 60. Eric Jones was back in. He had run me down no problem at all and would look up my inside down into turns 1, and he would just drive right on by me. So we dropped back down to P10. He had run down the 22 of Logano, passed him, and then I was starting to come into the picture as well to try and work my way around that 22 of Joey Logano's. Keselowski continuing to lead the way, but we come through to lap 67 in turns 1 and 2, and this was my opportunity to finally pass that 22 when he moved up to that top, and we would complete the pass and stay clear of that 22. He would get very close to my back bumper down the back straightaway, but not close enough to run into the back of me as we went down into turn 3. Now we start to stretch out that gap to that Pennzoil Ford and the 2018 Cup Series champion. So we come through to lap 69. Nice. Now 16 laps to go. We do have to make a green flag pit stop here shortly. If it stays green, of course, now as we go down this back straightaway into turn 3, Keselowski still leading the way as we're closing in on our Hendrick Motorsports teammates of Elliott as well as Alex Bowman. As there's actually some trouble out of turns 2. Cole Custer just went head on into the inside. Well, a very awkward spot to run into, and that was all we really got of an angle of what happened. So not sure what happened before then, but it looked like he blew a tire, and the caution of course, comes out here at Texas Motor Speedway, forcing everybody into the pit lane here. It was actually one can of fuel we were putting in the car and two right side tires now. So that was the least we've taken all race, but it definitely seemed like to be the right call to me, and sure enough, that would prove itself here as we gain one spot over over Chase Elliott, being side by side now with Alex Bowman here as we get ready to go green for potentially the final restart on the day as the green flag is out, and right behind me I noticed the 22 of Joey Logano, so we're gonna have to be a little bit careful into turns one to make sure we just don't get ran over from behind and sent up the track and lose a bunch of track position here. So I decided, you know what, we got to be a little bit aggressive. Very close right there. He nearly ran into the back of me and I saw it coming and I moved out of the way at the last second, but that was way closer than it needed to be now. But all of a sudden we're 3 wide with Denny Hamlin as well as the 12 of Ryan Blaney in his final few races with Penske Racing. Now there's some contact actually with the 11 of Hamlin. That sends me all the way up the track nearly into the outside wall. So now I'm backing out of it as we come through out of turns 4. A very close call with the 22. For some reason, I don't know what Joey's doing. He's deciding to hit the brakes down the front straightaway, and that just made it even worse for us here as we go down into turns 1. So all of a sudden, we're down to P16 as the 8 of Reddick looks up my inside, and now we've got a lot of work to do because we only have 11 laps to go as Kyle Busch did take the lead back away, by the way, from Brad Keselowski, looking to now win his way in, but then Keselowski actually took the lead back from him on lap 76 as we come through out of turn 2. We are working our way back forwards now, the inside of Kevin Harvick. 16th on back, was way far behind now as we would get that pass complete on the 4. Look up the inside of the 22 on the exit of turns 4. Now move up into P13, and then the caution actually comes out again with 8 laps to go here in Texas. And fortunately for us, we had just barely gotten ourselves in front of that 22 of Joey Logano, as it appears William Byron this time brought out the caution. But we have quite a few cars that are a lap down here within the final few laps of this race, so we do stay out from the pit lane and get ready to take the green flag on this inside line. And the only option here is for us to be aggressive if we want to get a good finish out of it. So I was already determined to try and make it 3 wide at some point through turns 1 and 2 as the green flag is back out, and it will be 5 laps to go here in the Texas 500. Joey Logano on our outside, his teammate of Austin Cindric just in front of him, and then an affiliate teammate, going to be an actual teammate next season, Ryan Preece there in that 21 car, who will be driving that 2 in replacement of Brad Keselowski, who goes over to Stuart Haas now as we make it 3 wide out of turns 2 with both Preece and Harrison Burton now as we go down this back straightaway. So all of a sudden we're back into the top 10 as we go down this front straightaway. We make it 3 wide now with Elliott and Hamlin, and we move up into P7, get to the back of Alex Bowman in the 48, as well as the 02 McLaren of Eric Jones. I tried to make the pass on the 48 right there, but I slide up on the exit of the corner. Then I decided to actually do him a favor, let him in now in line to make sure he's going to get as many points as he can, and then I decided to make a pass here with 2.5 to go as we went down into turn 3 because I realized I could clear him and then he could still get in line behind me without losing any extra points. So now up the inside as well of that 12 of Ryan Blaney, driving right behind one of the cars he's going to be driving next season in that McLaren team as we come through to the final 2 laps in this race. Kyle Busch coming through to lead the way to the final lap now at this point into turns 1. The now Zane Smith, Eric Jones, 2 teammates going at it for P3 and 4. Keselowski looks to the inside of Kyle Busch on this final lap as we exit turns 2. We're in P5 somehow. We do not deserve to be here whatsoever, but here we are side by side for the lead. We've had a few photo finishes recently here in the career mode, and it looks like it might happen again today as we come through turns 3 and 4. Keselowski looking for his one final chance to make it into the final 4, and sure enough, down the front straightaway, it's side by side, and it's going to be Keselowski in a photo finish, beating Kyle Busch and advancing into the final 4 here at Texas Motor Speedway as we come through to finish P5. Smith gets Jones for 3rd, and we, like I said, settle for that 5th spot, and then we have Alex Bowman in P6 to round out the top 10. It's the 20 of Christopher Bell, but I think that might be 3 photo finishes in the last 4 races here in the career mode, with us winning at Talladega over Chastain, Harrison Burton winning in Kansas in the last episode, and then here today with Keselowski barely getting Kyle Busch at the last second there, or in the final few seconds at least, to win the race. So here is the playoff grid though. So Keselowski wins his way in, putting myself and Kyle Busch, the last 2 drivers, in on points, and then Alex Bowman on down because of Keselowski winning has changed everything. They all have to win at Martinsville, so that makes it easier for us. So we really just have to watch that 48, the 4, the 14, and the 10. And if they don't win, then we have absolutely nothing to worry about. If they do win, it turns into a point race between myself and Kyle Busch. But we have been historically better than Kyle Busch in the past at Martinsville. So still really nothing to be concerned about in my opinion now as we look at the playoff grids here. In the next episode, we will also decide that final four for the Truck Series. As you saw that grid, there's the Xfinity grid one more time. Clements is in a must-win. Everybody else can really point their way in on the Xfinity side as well. And then, of course, on the Cup Series side of things, everybody on the outside looking in has to win pretty much at Martinsville, unless something goes catastrophically wrong for Kyle Busch or something at the very first stage of this race, and that could give Bowman still a chance. But Harvick, Briscoe, and DiBenedetto do have to win. But if you guys enjoyed this episode, you know what to do. I would like to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch this one. And of course, would like to say a quick thank you to the Going Racing members of MJ, a new member, Dana9302. Thank you for joining. Joseph 9001, RJ, Timothy A, Bubba Jr., King Matt XL, Brett Durward, Dark Gengar Gaming, as well as AJ Vasura. As I always mention, you guys help me out a lot, and I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one, where we decide the final four that will compete for a championship at Phoenix after we finish Martinsville. Have a great day, everybody.